Hey there, adventurers. I'm Norwolf. Welcome to my role-playing game realm, and this is session 26 of my Powers and Perils solo play. So when last we left our intrepid adventurers, they had made it into the lower levels of the Temple of Nebeth, and of course the Temple of Nebeth is a conversion of another module, an OSC module, that I did in a previous video. Put a link on the screen to that. What I'm going to do right now is do a bit of a recap of what they got from the last battle that we just did. So let's get into that. As you may recall, our group of adventurers here had just finished a battle with a lizardman shaman, his 2 lizardman guards, and a couple of lizardmen zombies that eventually joined the fray. From that battle, Gildor ended up with 27 combat experience points, 6 expertise in a scimitar, and 1 expertise in a shield. From the spells he cast, he ended up with 27 combat, that was a total of 27 combat experience. From the spells he cast, he ended up with 36 magic experience points, plus 24 magic experience points for a total of 60. From the combat experience, he had 1 characteristic that he put into agility. And from his magic experience points, he ended up with 3 characteristics, and he put those into intelligence, will, and empathy. His smokeless flame ended up with 24 expertise. And what was the 8 times 2? I don't remember what spell that was. Or was that also smokeless flame? Don't remember offhand, but that was 16 expertise. So actually, yeah, I guess that was smokeless flame. For a total of 40 expertise. Raffin ended up with 66 combat experience points, 12 expertise in his axe, 12 in his shield. Let's see, for a total of 187 combat experience points. Jesus, it's been so many weeks, I've kind of forgotten what's what here. That would be the lizardman shaman, the lizardman warriors, and the 17 times 3 would be the combat difficulty factor of the zombies. So you end up with 187 combat experience points, which is going to be 4 characteristics for him. He put 2 into strength, 2 into dexterity. Marizan ended up with 25 combat experience points from the shaman, 10 expertise in her mace, and 10 expertise in her shield. And then from the lizardman warriors, she ended up with 90 combat experience points. Or sorry, that was from the 90 from the zombies, for a total of 115 combat experience points, which is 3 characteristic for her. So she put 2 into strength, 1 into stamina. Kina did, let's see, she got 165 combat experience points from the shaman, 10 expertise in her sword, 10 expertise in her fighting dagger, 10 in her 2-weapon fighting, and she only had that total of 165 combat experience points. She was a little bit too far away from everybody else to get into the final fray. But she did end up with 4 characteristics. She put 2 into will, 1 into agility, and 1 into dexterity. She did cast a healing spell, several healing spells, 1 on herself, 1 on Raffin, 1 on Marizan, which gave her 9 magic experience points, 1 characteristics that she put into intelligence, and 6 expertise in healing. So, next up, we have what's going on in the room. So as you may recall, our characters had ascended the stairs into area number 5 here. This area was referred to as the Necropolis Foyer. In the original write-up of this module, the Shaman necromancer Thoth would have been found with his 2 hulking lizard folk guards in this area. I shifted things over to actually find them more in the area 6-7. The walls are crumbling here. It's fairly dark. The torchlight that they saw came from area 6 and from area 7, but more so from area 6. The walls have been caving in this old temple sublevel, and they made their way around the corner and were promptly engaged by the lizardman warriors that were waiting for them. Short battle ensued. They made their way into Area 6, which is referred to as the Necropolis Antechamber. This chamber is stripped of furniture. In the original write-up, it said there was 2 doomed tomb looters that were sprawled on the floor here, showing horrific rotting wounds. Walls depict Nebeth welcoming fallen warriors into eternal fenlands of the lizard folk. Unfamiliar constellations line the ceiling. With the story as I kind of spun it, with the 2 factions within the lizard folk, lizardman clan at odds with each other, the area in 7 here in the actual necropolis, there is a tied up lizardman that's struggling on an altar, and 2 other dead lizardman warriors on the floor around him. So, you can basically, as always, everybody's always encouraged to, adapt the modules or the that they use to meet what they need in their adventures. You don't always have to take them word for word. And so, Area 7 itself has several alcoves, some of which have partially collapsed. And again, there's rock and debris across the floor in all these areas. The walls are crumbling. It's a rather decrepit old temple area. Our characters will make their way towards the lizardman on the altar. They will free him. He is eternally grateful to them. And I'm not going to go through the role play between these characters, but essentially, they find that the lizard that's on the altar here, his name is Ssalzar Ironscale. Let me see if I can actually find a picture of this fellow. So Ssalzar tells them that he is an aspiring shaman from the lizard folk clan. He explains to them that the shaman that they killed was one of the shaman that was trying to gain control of the clan itself, and had found an old magic item that allowed him to use some necromantic powers to raise the fallen. So the lizardman warriors, zombies that have been running around, are all the creation of this magic item that the kotothi aligned shaman had raised. He's basically he was meant to be a sacrifice to the god Nebeth that this kotothi shaman had worshipped. And Ssalzar basically swears a life oath to the group here for saving him. So he will become another member of this party. I'm not sure necessarily if I'm going to have him participate in that many adventures. I may break him off to do separate adventures with some portion of this group. But we'll see where that goes. I'm not sure I necessarily want to be running around with 5 or 6 characters in Powers and Perils. My original intent was to just run the 2 characters, but I seem to have grown the party a bit. So I may split off the party and send some characters off on specific missions or as the casters of the group, they may want to spend some time, extended time, learning spells or doing some magic creation. So that may be a good opportunity to show some different aspects of powers and perils. So, anyways, that is a bit of the background on Ssalzar Ironscale and what was going on with the lizardman clan that has been clashing with each other. With the defeat of the Kotothi shaman, Ssalzar himself says he is more aligned with the Grey Elder, as is the bulk of his clan. He does want to make it back to them to inform them that the threat that has been plaguing their clan has been dealt with. The elder shaman of the clan is quite old, and Ssalzar was one of 2 aspiring shaman that had been under the tutelage, actually 3 aspiring shaman that had been under the tutelage of that elder. Thoth, who is the shaman that was killed here, had been one of the ones being guided by the shaman, but he had apparently gone off in his own direction, especially once he came across this temple and essentially took a different path. Ssalzar is the youngest of the apprentices, but with his oath to this group, he will be going with them as an addition, and may give me an opportunity to show some of the shaman magic at some point in a little bit more detail. So with that, we will get into kind of wrapping up in the temple here. So the last thing they're going to do is search over the lizard folk, the lizardman bodies here. Let me flip over to the PDF of the conversion that I did. And so the lizardmen themselves, Thoth, the Kotothi shaman, as they check him over, he has, of course, that Makuuto. Again, I have no idea how to pronounce that properly. I know I have the pronunciation here somewhere. But anyways, that club, that spiked club, essentially. If I remember correctly, let me just quickly bring up Ssalzar here. So Ssalzar is a MEL3, so he's very junior in his casting ability, or his magic expertise level is 3. He has a combat experience level of 3. So again, he's a bit of a junior warrior too. He's got some decent strength and stamina in his future, maximum 56 and 54. His will and intelligence are okay, not great, so he's not going to be the greatest shaman, which is probably why the clan wouldn't be too distraught in losing him for a while. And skill-wise, he can use decent with a spear at EL2. He's decent at with an axe at EL2. Using a longbow at EL4. He is trained in the club, or in the mace family, so he's got club, mace, flail, and hammer, and the spiked club thing. He's got EL2 in that, EL2 in flail, and EL1 in club. He may snag at least 1 or 2 of those spiked club weapons. But he's also trained in the war staff. So he may actually end up with that staff from the shaman. So we'll get into that in a moment here. And then spell-wise, doesn't have a whole lot of spells. So he's the shaman is probably more of a support class in some ways. So he's got his orient self, which he needs to use his drum and to basically orient himself to be able to do any of the shaman magics. He's got let's see, he'll want to communicate. No, actually, he'll doesn't have an EL1 in communicate. Sorry, EL0 or no EL in communicate. He has got EL0 in protection kotothi, EL1 in protection elder, shaman knowledge shaman elder 1, summoning shaman elder 0, and that's about the extent of it. When he's able to actually ignore that. Yeah, so that is the extent of his spells. He's very much a noob character. Right. So let's see what we've got with these guys. Paper. I'll put our notes on here. So off the shaman, we find that he's got the Ocarina of Death, the Staff of Snakes, which and Jade Necklace worth 25 silver coins. So let's actually, I'm not going to write these down. I'll just note them later on the character sheets wherever they end up being. So this Ocarina of Death and the Staff of Snakes. So the Ocarina of Death is an MEL8 EL4 magic item. A ceramic whistle in the form of faceless crested being sitting on a throne. When one hole is covered and the whistle is blown, it causes fear per the terror spell, MEL8 EL3, radius 0.5 inches, which is basically 25 feet, and duration of 8 tactical turns. When the other hole is covered and the whistle is blown, it casts animation, necromantic power spell, EL8, MEL8 EL3, and basically it has a duration of 8 days and a hit point value limit of 30. Which is basically saying that the creature being animated can't have more than 30 hit points, and the resulting animated undead will last for 8 days. The Staff of Snakes is an MEL6 EL3. Basically, this item is the one that Thoth found, and this one is one he crafted. It's an enchanted war staff, so it has a weapon strength bonus of +3, fatigue value 16, +4 to hit, and an attack priority of 4. It is ensorcelled with summoning and mana storage. The mana storage is 40 mana that regenerates 4 points per day. So as you've seen with both Gildor and Kina, you use the mana storage device, they expend 1 of their own mana, and then they can draw off mana from the device itself. And the summoning aspect of this thing is the staff can become an anaconda. So basically he triggers it in some fashion and throws the staff on the ground, and it's a snake that will do his bidding and attack. And the Makwawit, as I mentioned before, is a wooden club with several embedded obsidian blades. And it is a weapon strength bonus +1, value 10, and basically has the special characteristics of a club, which basically increases the weapon strength bonus by 1 on a severe or deadly hit, and on a shield hit it loses 1 of its weapon strength bonus, so it's a 0 on a shield hit. All right, that is so. When you look through the Powers and Perils rules, you don't really see anything in the way of identify magic spell or anything like that. But if we flip over to the rulebook here for a second, the actual detection spell, after a bit of hunting, and in the groups that I played in historically, we just kind of hand wave this. and never really worried about, having to cast a spell to figure out what a magic item was. But the detection spell, the spell may also be used to analyze a specific object that the caster is in physical contact with. In this case, there we go. In this case, the spell will inform the caster of any magical value, and if there is any, the basic type of magic. Failure does not yield the type, i.e. alignment. Abysmal failure yields nothing. The spell may only be used in this way when the caster is touching the item. The referee may give the caster other information from a successful use at his discretion. You'll see a lot of the stuff in the way of spells is left to the referee's discretion. And it may be used. Referee may use its MDV as in defense against detection if he feels it is appropriate to do so. And there, of course, the range given here is if you're trying to detect something in a particular direction or whatever. So the first portion of this spell. So what we're going to do is have Gildor probably do some detection spells here on the 2 items. I'm not sure if I'm going to have Ina do one of them as well, just to kind of spread out the wealth. But if I remember correctly, detection is basically a base mana cost 1. So they're not going to get a whole lot from this. I'm going to have Gildor's use the least amount of mana. Or has he used them? He's got 90 for casting ability is 90 versus Kina's 27. She's used 10 of her 27 there. Yeah, I'm going to have Gildor probably cast the spell twice here. Heal 0, base mana cost 1. He's not casting it on himself, so he doesn't get to add his MDV to it, or subtract his MDV from it. But he is ML 7 now, I believe. Or 6. ML 6. So on the 6 line, he's got EL 0 in it. So he's no modifiers. He's got a 52% chance of success. So let's see how this goes. So let's grab our little dice tray here. Bring it up in a nice little window. And the first cast would be 57, so that fails. Within 25, so he gets 1 expertise for it. Second cast, 6, that's going to fail. Another 1 expertise. That's, 1 expertise. For each successful cast of the spell, he will get base mana cost 1 times EL 0 plus 2, so 2. We're looking for 2 successful casts. And for expertise, he's got 2 so far. And 81, that is not within 25%. Is that right? 78? Yeah. We're on cast 3. 98. That's not good. 98 is going to be an abysmal failure. So, what happens with an abysmal failure? Let's pop over to those rules. Great. So, we have our abysmal failure table here, and there's no modifiers. He doesn't have any EL in the spell. Let's see. Abysmal failure indicates that the force of shape to create the magic has breached the caster's defenses and turned on him. The effect of this occurrence is determined D100, table 10.2. This roll is modified by subtracting E or EL times 2 in the spell. So basically 0. If the specific effect of abysmal failure is noted for a spell, that effect is used. There's no specific case here, unlike his smokeless flame. And, well, let's see what happens. So, the magic user's casting ability is reduced an additional 2d10 mana points, and he is unconscious for the number of hours equal to the mana lost. Which additional does he lose? 6 more mana. So he is unconscious for 6 hours as well. Well, that's not very good. Guess we'll have to wrap up his detection a little bit later. So they will head back to camp spot and wait for Gilder to recover. So he has used, let's see, that was the 4th attempt. It would have been mana. It would have been 4 plus 6 more. And 6 hours later, he recovers. But he is bound and determined. It's probably well into the evening at this point since they didn't travel back. They will be camping that night, doing an encounter for the night after I do a few more casts of the spell here. And with any luck, you will... let's actually flip back to our maps. So they've vacated the premises here. Oh, actually before that, let's make sure that we've taken whatever else off these fallen foes. So the warriors themselves had items, 2d4 worth of list here. I'm not sure why. I suppose if you're running into multiple warriors in the encounters and whatnot, then that could be useful to have a varying list. When you have a fixed encounter of 2, it probably would have just explicitly defined what they actually had. So first one has a 4, which is a potion of healing. Well, that's pretty handy. And he also had, 2 potions of healing. The other one had an opal worth 5 silver coins and a potion of healing. Wow, they're carrying on a lot of potions of healing. Opal, 5 silver coins, and 3 potions healing. These are MEL 6 EL3, obviously made by the shaman. So they do a D6 plus stamina bonus plus 3. And add plus 20 healing chance. And plus 1 stamina bonus for that next morning's roll. Good to know. And what else? The fallen... Well, there wasn't any tomb robbers, so I'll skip over the silver coins, the copper coins, the flask of whiskey, and the shovel. And our characters will, they'll head back to they'll set up a little camp somewhere nearby. Raffin and Mirazan will help Ssalzar take his fallen companions, the 2 lizard folk that were on the floor near the altar, back to his clan, and they'll do that while Kina's taking care of Gildor at their camp. They'll only be gone for maybe half an hour or something like that, because the clans camped fairly nearby before they returned. Or there's a whole other bit of role play that can happen there, but again, I'm not going to dive into that too much. The clan itself is very happy that the threat has been taken care of. They mourn their fallen, and they do appropriate burials for those. Ssalzar does need a healing, so he'll actually use one of the potions of healing. They'll actually give one of those to him. Use. So they'll only have 2 of those left. And okay, now we can flip back to Fantasy Grounds and the map. So they're out of the temple here. This was the area around the temple. They're up here in this Temple of Nebeth area. The lizard folk are camped just in the hills to the north a bit. And Gildor will attempt his spells again here that evening once everybody's back. Oh, divination temple number 5. Yeah, that one works. Okay, so he knows about how the Orikith or whatever it was called, the whistle, and the staff. Build again. And another attempt. Oops, let me actually pull up the dragon stuff all over the place here. Let me pull up the dice tray again so you actually see what I'm rolling. And 26, that's a failure, but another +1, and he +2 from the success. And that's a success. Oops, +2 from the success. Used, what was that, 2 more there? More attempts there, something like that. Anyways, close enough. And yeah, so he has used a total of 14 mana. 14 more mana. He will, even though it's only 4 magic experience points, it will give him a characteristic. There's no minimum for that. He will probably throw that into likely intelligence. 1 point intelligence. And be done with that. All right. Great, so we're going to leave it off there for today. Our characters will likely head back to Crystal Shores next time around, taking their new companion Ssalzar Iron Scale, the lizardman shaman, with them. Or who knows, maybe there's maybe something else will come up, but I'll figure it out then. So again, thanks for joining me. Please like, subscribe, and always appreciate any comments or any feedback or suggestions. And we will see you next time.